Holman categorized "It's time to acknowledge the spectacular success of the IPCC." It's time to acknowledge the spectacular success of the IPCC. Posted on September 6, 2021 by Kevin Hester, 66 comments. U.S. support was probably critical to IPCC's establishment. And why did the U.S. government support it? Assistant Undersecretary of State Bill Nitze wrote to me a few years later saying that our group's activities played a significant role. Among other motivations, the U.S. government saw the creation of the IPCC as a way to prevent the activism stimulated by my colleagues and me from controlling the policy agenda. The home of climate change denial was instrumental in setting up the IPCC. I suspect that the Reagan administration believed that, in contrast to our group, most scientists were not activists, and would take years to reach any conclusion on the magnitude of the threat. Even if they did, they probably would fail to express it in plain English. The U.S. government must have been quite surprised when IPCC issued its first assessment at the end of 1990, stating clearly that human activity was likely to produce an unprecedented warming. Source: How the IPCC Got Started.
https://blogs.edf.org/2011/1/01/0/IPCC_beginning/question mark FBC lid =sign IWAR2ZA7SI4QLWLKGBVWBSHJGS9 and 9 DJLRT0 is WQVA97 INHQ Gwyn 5YF1VGU. The IPCC was designed to fail. Part of their mandate is to not make recommendations that would constrict economic growth. Chair of the IPCC Dr. Rajendra Pachauri, Valencia, Spain, November 17, 2007. If there's no action before 2012, that's too late. What we do in the next 2 to 3 years will determine our future. This is the defining moment. Survivable IPCC projections based on science fiction. In the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Fifth Assessment Report, IPCC AR5, there have been published a selection of representative concentration pathways, RCPs. Dr. Matt Watson, from the School of Earth Sciences at the University of Bristol, UK, made this point strongly at a recent meeting at the Royal Society in London. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this research? This is why. This is the latest projections from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and the alarming thing is that these two scenarios, RCP 2.6 and RCP 4.5, both include negative emissions technology. So, there is geoengineering, of the flavor of carbon dioxide removal, in the best-case scenarios. The very, very alarming thing for us is that we are on this path here, that is RCP 8.5. We are slap bang on this trajectory, and this puts us in a very different place in our children's lifetime. All hope of maintaining a livable planet has been gambled on negative emissions technology that simply does not exist. In fact, it is fantasy technology that they hope will be invented sometime in the future. I say to my soul, be patient and wait. Without hope, for to hope is to hope for the wrong thing. T.S. Eliot. If hope becomes something you express through illusion, then it's not hope, it's fantasy. Those who speak truth are marginalized and ignored, dismissed as pessimists in a culture that prides itself on a childlike optimism at the expense of reality. We have a mania for hope which our corporate masters lavishly provide across the political and cultural spectrum to keep us passive. Chris Hedges' American Psychosis, available on Vimeo. In his 1926 novel The Sun Always Rises, Hemingway describes how the end comes about when you lose everything. One character named Bill asked, "How did you go bankrupt?" 2 ways, Mike replied, "gradually and then suddenly." The scientifically necessary is politically unfeasible, the politically feasible is scientifically irrelevant. William Rees. How do we live with the fact that we are destroying our world? What do we make of the loss of glaciers, the melting Arctic island nations swamped by the sea, widening deserts, and drying farmlands? Because of social taboos, despair at the state of our world and fear for our future are rarely acknowledged. The suppression of despair, like that of any deep recurring response, contributes to the numbing of the psyche. Expressions of anguish or outrage are muted, deadened as if a nerve had been cut. This refusal to feel impoverishes our emotional and sensory life. Flowers are dimmer and less fragrant, our loves less ecstatic. We create diversions for ourselves as individuals and as nations, in the fights we pick, the aims we pursue, and the stuff we buy. The Greatest Danger. By Joanna Macy, source, http://www.dailygood.org/story/1821/the-greatest-danger-Joanna-Macy. Share this.